The distress signal the bridge of the UEF Titan was quiet, except for the steady hum of systems running their midnight diagnostics. Commander Sarah Mitchell sat in the captain's chair, reviewing patrol reports from the Outer Rim territories. The second exploration fleet had been charting unexplored systems for 3 months now, and the routine was starting to wear on the crew. They had left Earth expecting adventure among the stars, but so far they had found nothing but empty space and lifeless rocks. Sarah was a veteran of the Mars Rebellion, a conflict that had taught humanity hard lessons about survival in hostile environments. At 42, she had seen enough combat to last several lifetimes, but she had also learned that sometimes the most important battles were the ones you chose to fight, not the ones forced upon you. Her short brown hair was streaked with gray, and her green eyes held the kind of focus that came from years of making life-or-death decisions. Ensign David Park sat at the communications console, running through standard frequency sweeps. It was boring work, the kind that made young officers question their career choices. He had joined the fleet dreaming of first contact with alien civilizations, of representing humanity among the stars. Instead, he spent his days listening to static and automated mining beacons. Then everything changed. The signal came through on a frequency that should not have existed. It was not human, not even close. The pattern was complex, layered with harmonics that suggested a completely different approach to communication technology. David's fingers flew across his console as he tried to isolate the signal. Commander Mitchell, I have something strange here. The ensign's voice was steady despite his excitement. It is a transmission, but not from any human source. The pattern suggests intelligent origin. Sarah was out of her chair immediately. She moved to the communication station and studied the readings. The signal was weak, distorted by distance and interference, but it was definitely there. Let me hear it. David played the transmission through the bridge speakers. The sound was unlike anything Sarah had ever heard. It was a series of pulses and tones, rising and falling in patterns that seemed almost musical. Behind the alien sounds, there was something else. The unmistakable noise of weapons, fire, and explosions. That is a distress call, Sarah said with certainty. Get our language AI working on it immediately. I want a translation as fast as possible. Lieutenant Commander James Chun, the ship's executive officer, approached from the tactical station. Commander, we should be cautious. We have no idea who sent this or what the situation is. First contact protocols require us to observe and report before taking action. Sarah understood his concern. James was right by the book, and the book said they should gather information and wait for orders from Fleet Command. But she had not survived the Mars Rebellion by always following the book. Sometimes you had to trust your instincts. How long until we have a translation? She asked. The AI is working on it now, David replied. The signal structure is complex, but we are making progress. I estimate another 2 minutes. Location of the signal? Approximately 4 hours away at maximum speed. The signal is coming from a system designated as Kepler 186. We have basic survey data on the system, but no detailed information. Sarah made her decision. Set course for Kepler 186, maximum speed. All hands to battle stations. Send a message to the rest of the fleet. We are responding to a possible distress call. Commander James said quietly, we could be walking into a trap. We know nothing about who sent this signal or what kind of situation we are heading into. Then we will be ready for anything, Sarah replied. But I did not come out here to ignore someone calling for help. Get our weapon systems online and prepare the crew for combat operations. The alarm klaxons began to sound throughout the ship. The UEF Titan had been cruising at low alert, but now every system came alive. Crew members rushed to their stations. Gun crews loaded weapons. Engineering pushed the fusion reactors to maximum output. The other ships in the second exploration fleet, the destroyers Valiant and Guardian, and the frigates Swift and Shadow, all acknowledged the alert and moved into combat formation. The translation came through faster than expected. The language AI had found patterns in the signal and constructed a basic translation matrix. The words that came through the speakers were halting and incomplete, but the meaning was clear. This is Merchant Vessel Sulla, calling any ships in range. We are under attack. Multiple hostile vessels. Our shields are failing. We have civilians on board. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. We are dying. The voice behind the words was filled with terror. Sarah heard the desperation, the knowledge that death was coming and there was nothing they could do to stop it. She had heard that kind of fear before, during the worst days of the Mars Rebellion when entire colonies were being overrun. Increase speed, she ordered. I want every bit of power we can spare diverted to the engines. How long until we reach them? 3 hours and 40 minutes at current speed, the helmsman replied. Not fast enough, Sarah thought, but it would have to do. Communications. Keep working on that translation. I want to know everything we can about who these people are and who is attacking them. Over the next 3 hours, the AI refined its translation of the alien language. The species called themselves the Kelthrans, and they were merchant traders. They had no military vessels, no weapons capable of fighting off raiders. They survived in the galaxy by being useful, by carrying goods that others wanted, and by hoping that their lack of value as military targets would keep them safe. But it had not worked this time. The attackers were identified as the Vroggoth, a species known throughout their region of space as pirates and slavers. They had no central government, just warlords who commanded fleets and raided anyone weaker than themselves. According to the fragmentary information in the distress call, the Vroggoth had been attacking Kelthran vessels for years, and no one had ever come to help Dot until now. The second exploration fleet dropped out of faster-than-light, travel at the edge of the Kepler 186 system. The tactical display immediately lit up with contacts. 3 large vessels were clustered together, their hulls scarred and their shields flickering. Surrounding them were 25 smaller ships, circling like predators around wounded prey. Lieutenant Commander Chun studied the tactical data. The large vessels matched the description from the distress call. Those must be the Kelthran merchants. The smaller ships are the raiders. They are taking turns firing on the merchant vessels, wearing down their shields. Sarah felt anger rise in her chest. The Vroggoth were not just attacking, they were playing with their victims. It was cruelty for the sake of cruelty, and it made her blood boil. Open a channel on all frequencies, she ordered. Standard first contact protocols. David worked his console. Channel open. Commander Sarah took a breath, knowing that her next words would be humanity's first real communication with an alien species. This is Commander Sarah Mitchell of the United Earth Fleet to all vessels in this system. The attack on civilian ships ends now. Vroggoth vessels, power down your weapons and withdraw immediately, or we will respond with force. The response came quickly. The voice was harsh and guttural, full of contempt. Foolish creatures. This does not concern you. These ships are our prey. You have 4 ships. We have 25. Leave now or die with them. Sarah looked around her bridge. Every member of her crew was watching her, waiting for orders. They all knew what came next. They had all trained for this moment, even though they had never expected it to come against alien enemies. All ships, this is Commander Mitchell. We have come a long way as a species. We have fought wars and made peace. We have learned that the strong have a responsibility to protect the weak, not prey upon them. Today we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. All weapons free. Target the raiders. Show them why they should have run. The UEF Titan's weapon systems came online with deadly purpose. The ship's main railgun, a massive electromagnetic accelerator, began charging. Throughout the fleet, plasma cannons powered up and missile tubes loaded their deadly cargo. The human ships moved into attack formation with a precision it spoke of. Countless hours of training. The first shot came from the sea. Titan, the railgun fired with a crack of thunder that resonated through the ship's hull. The projectile, a depleted uranium penetrator the size of a cargo container, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. It crossed the distance to the nearest Vragath ship in seconds. Asterisk, the pirate vessel never had a chance. One moment it existed, the next it was a rapidly expanding cloud of debris. The kinetic energy of the impact had been so enormous that the ship had simply vaporized. There was no time for shields to activate, no chance to evade. The raider was there, and then it was gone. The Vragath fleet hesitated. They had never encountered weapons like this before. Most species in this region of space used energy weapons or slow-moving missiles. The human doctrine of kinetic strikes was completely foreign to them. That moment of confusion cost them dearly. Asterisk. The destroyers Valiant and Guardian opened fire with their plasma cannons. Superheated streams of contained matter reached across space, burning through shields and armor with terrifying efficiency. 3 more pirate ships died in the opening salvo. Their hulls breached and their crews exposed to the vacuum of space. Return fire, Shun reported calmly. The raiders are engaging us. The Vragath weapons were energy beams, bright and colorful, but relatively weak compared to human technology. They struck the Titan's shields and dissipated harmlessly. Human defensive systems had been developed through centuries of warfare, refined through trial and error until they could withstand almost anything. Target the ships closest to the merchant vessels, Sarah ordered. Protect those civilians at all costs. The frigates Swift and Shadow darted forward with incredible speed. They were smaller than the other human ships, designed for rapid strikes and evasive maneuvers. Their weapon systems locked onto the raiders that were still firing on the Kelthran merchants, and they unleashed volleys of guided missiles. The missiles were works of art, each one equipped with advanced AI that allowed it to adjust its course thousands of times during flight. The Vragath point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but the missiles were too fast, too agile. Explosions rippled across the hulls of the pirate ships as the warheads found their targets. The battle became a massacre. The human ships moved with a grace that seemed impossible for vessels of their size. Their maneuvering thrusters fired in precise bursts, their navigation systems calculating trajectories faster than any organic mind could process. The Vragath tried to surround them, to use their numerical advantage. But the human formation never broke. Commander Rodriguez, piloting one of the Titan's fighter craft, felt her heart race as she engaged the enemy. Her fighter was a marvel of engineering, small enough to be a difficult target, but armed with weapons that could cripple much larger vessels. She had trained her entire life for combat, and now she was fighting aliens in a star system light years from home. Alpha Squadron, break and attack, she called to her wingmates. Pick your targets and fire at will. The human fighters swept through the Vragath formation like avenging angels. Their missiles and cannons tore into the pirate ships, finding weak points in armor and exploiting them ruthlessly. Rodriguez locked onto a raider cruiser and fired. Her targeting computer guided the missiles perfectly, and the enemy ship erupted in flame. Within 15 minutes, the battle was over. Of the 25 Vragath ships that had been attacking the Kelthran merchants, 18 were destroyed. 5 had surrendered, powering down their weapons and broadcasting their capitulation. Only 2 had managed to escape, fleeing into faster-than-light travel before the human ships could stop them. The second, exploration fleet had not suffered a single casualty. The Titan's shields had barely been scratched. Sarah stood and straightened her uniform. Communications. Open a channel to the Kelthran vessels. Standard first contact protocols. Let them know they are safe. David worked his console. Channel open. Commander. This is Commander Sarah Mitchell of the United Earth Fleet. The threat has been neutralized. Your ships are safe. Do you require assistance? There was a long silence. Then a voice came through, musical and harmonious, like several people singing together. The translation software struggled for a moment before producing words. We are the Kelthran Merchant Collective. We did not expect anyone to come. No one has ever come before. Who are you? What are you? We are humans from the planet Earth. We received your distress signal and responded. Do your ships need repairs? Another pause. Yes, we have damage. Hull breaches, wounded crew members, failing systems. But more than that, we need to understand. Why did you help us? You do not know us. This conflict was not yours. Sarah thought about how to answer that. How could she explain humanity's long history of fighting for what was right? How could she convey thousands of years of civilization, all the wars fought, and the lessons learned? Where we come from, the strong protect the weak. That is what civilized people do. We help each other. The Kelthran voice responded with something that the translation software interpreted as wonder. In our experience, the strong prey on the weak. That is simply how the galaxy works. The law of strength governs all things. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of galaxy had humanity emerged into? What kind of civilization accepted piracy and slavery as natural? That may be how the galaxy has worked until now, she said quietly. But humanity has arrived, and we follow different laws. We will help repair your ships and escort you to safety. No one will attack you while we are here. As human repair teams prepared to board the Kelthran vessels, Sarah looked out at the debris field where the Vragath ships had died. She had just made a decision that would echo across the stars. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy, and the message was clear. The age of the law of strength was ending. Something new had begun. The price of mercy. The repair work took 6 hours. Human engineers worked alongside Kelthran crew members, bridging the gap between two species with hand gestures, shared schematics, and the universal language of problem-solving. Dr. Elena Torres, the Titan's chief medical officer, moved through the damaged Kelthran vessels with her team, treating wounded aliens with the same care she would give to human patients. The Kelthrans were fascinating beings. They stood on 2 legs like humans, but their bodies were covered in fine crystalline scales that shifted colors based on their emotional state. They had 4 arms, each ending in 3 delicate fingers, and their faces were elongated with large, multifaceted eyes that could see far beyond human visual spectrum. When they spoke, their voices harmonized in ways that suggested their language was meant to be sung rather than spoken. Commander Mitchell stood in the cargo bay of the lead Kelthran vessel, the merchant ship Sella, speaking with its captain. Captain Theron was tall for his species, his scales currently displaying a pale blue color that the translation software suggested meant gratitude mixed with uncertainty. Commander Mitchell, I must thank you again for saving us, Theron said, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. But I also must warn you. The Vragath do not forgive. You have humiliated them, destroyed their ships. They will seek revenge. Sarah had expected this. Let them come. We will be ready. You do not understand. Theron's scales shifted to a darker shade, indicating distress. The Vragath have hundreds of ships, dozens of warlords. When they learn what happened here, they will gather their forces. And they will come not just for us, but for you. Then we will face them together, Sarah replied. Captain, Can you tell me more about this galaxy? About how things work out here? Over the next hour, Theron painted a picture that disturbed Sarah deeply. The galaxy was divided among powerful civilizations that operated on a principle they called the law of strength. The strong took what they wanted. The weak survived by being useful or by hiding. There were galactic councils and trade agreements, but they existed primarily to benefit the powerful species. The Kelthrons were considered a lesser race because they had no military might. They were traders, artists, and engineers, but they had never developed weapons of war. This made them perpetual victims. The Vragath raided them regularly. Other species exploited them in trade deals. And the great powers of the galaxy did nothing because the Kelthrons were not worth protecting. What about law enforcement? Sarah asked. Surely there are authorities who stop pirates and criminals? Theron's scales flickered with what the translator interpreted as bitter amusement. There is the Concordat, a loose alliance of the most powerful species. They maintain some order in core systems, but out here on the rim, there is no law except strength. The Vragath operate freely because no one cares enough to stop them. They only attack species like mine, those without power or protection. That changes now, Sarah said firmly. You have our protection. Any ship that attacks you attacks humanity. Theron studied her with his multifaceted eyes. Why would you do this? You have nothing to gain and much to lose. The Vragath will make you their enemy. Other species will see you as disruptive to the established order. Because it is the right thing to do, Sarah replied simply. Where I come from, we have a saying. Evil triumphs when good people do nothing. Humanity did not come to the stars to watch innocent people suffer. Asterisk back on the Titan. Lieutenant Commander Chun had been busy gathering intelligence. The captured Vragath ships had yielded valuable information about pirate operations in this region of space. What he found was deeply troubling. Commander, you need to see this? Chun said as Sarah returned to the bridge. We have been analyzing data from the captured Vragath vessels. They have records of raids going back decades. Hundreds of attacks on civilian ships from at least 15 different species. Sarah studied the data on the tactical display. It was worse than she had imagined. The Vragath were not just pirates. They were a plague on this region of space. And according to their records, they operated with complete impunity. What about the species they attacked? Did anyone fight back? A few tried, Chun replied. But the Vragath always brought overwhelming force. Most species in this region lack serious military capability. The ones that do have military power are part of the Concordat, and they do not intervene in what they consider local disputes. Show me their base of operations. Chun brought up a star chart. The Vragath territory is here, about 2 weeks' travel from our current position. It is unclaimed space, outside any major power's jurisdiction. Intelligence suggests they have several major stations and shipyards hidden in asteroid fields and dead systems. Sarah studied the map, her tactical mind already working through possibilities. If we wanted to send a message, a real message about what happens when you prey on civilians, where would we hit them? Chun highlighted a location. This is Krenth Station, the primary base for Warlord Krenth. He is one of the most powerful Vragath leaders. According to the data we captured, he personally commanded the raid on the Kelthron ships. Then Warlord Krenth and I need to have a conversation, Sarah said quietly. 3 days later, the message reached Krenth Station. The warlord sat in his command chamber, a cavernous space carved from an asteroid and decorated with trophies from 1,000 raids. Krenth himself was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, his body covered in thick armor plates and battle scars. His species had evolved as apex predators, and every aspect of his physiology spoke of violence. He watched the recorded footage from the battle at Kepler 186 for the 5th time. Each viewing made his rage grow hotter. His ships destroyed with contemptuous ease. His warriors killed by weapons he had never seen before. And worst of all, his reputation, damaged by these unknown humans who dared to interfere, summoned the other warlords. Krenth growled to his second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Vex. "Tell them we gather the great fleet. These humans will learn what happens when they challenge the VRA Goth, my lord." Vex said carefully, "Perhaps we should learn more about these humans first. Their technology is clearly superior to ours." Krenth struck Vex with enough force to send him sprawling. "Are you a coward? We have numbers. We have the loyalty of a dozen warlords. We will gather every ship we can muster and crush these humans before they can threaten us further." Over the next 2 weeks, Krenth assembled his revenge fleet. Warlords throughout Vergoth space answered his call, bringing their ships and warriors. Mercenary groups, seeing an opportunity for profit, joined the gathering. Even some species that resented humanity's interference in what they saw as the natural order contributed vessels. The result was the largest pirate fleet ever assembled, 340 warships, ranging from small raiders to massive battle cruisers. It was an armada that could threaten even major powers. And Krenth had a target in mind. The humans had established a colony world called New Horizon, a beautiful planet on the edge of explored space. Intelligence reports suggested it had a population of nearly 50,000 civilians. Krenth would attack New Horizon. He would show the galaxy what happened when someone challenged the Vergoth. He would kill the human civilians and broadcast it across every communication channel, making sure everyone understood the price of mercy. But Krenth had made a crucial mistake. He assumed the humans would act like every other species he had encountered. He assumed they would panic, would try to negotiate, would ultimately submit to superior force. He did not understand humanity at all. Commander Mitchell stood in the Situation Room aboard the Titan, surrounded by holographic displays showing intelligence data. Fleet Command had sent reinforcements, the Dreadnought Indomitable, 5 more destroyers, and 10 frigates. Combined with the Second Exploration Fleet, humanity now had 21 warships in the region. "They are coming for New Horizon," Lieutenant Commander Chun said, highlighting the projected attack route. "Our intelligence estimates 300+ vessels. Every Vergoth warlord within 3 weeks' travel has contributed ships. Sarah studied the numbers. 21 human ships against more than 300. The odds were not good, but they were not impossible either. Humanity had faced worse during the Mars Rebellion. What are our assets at New Horizon? The colony has basic defensive satellites and shields, but nothing that could hold against a fleet this size," Chun replied. "We have 48 hours before the Vergoth arrive. Then we make our stand there," Sarah said. "Get me a channel to Fleet Command. I need authorization for full combat deployment." The authorization came within hours. Earth had decided that humanity's reputation in the galaxy was worth fighting for. If they backed down now, they would forever be seen as weak. Better to fight, to show the galaxy that humans protected their own and those they had pledged to defend. The Kelthrin merchant Collective sent a message as well. Captain Theron and 12 other Kelthrin vessels volunteered to help. They had no weapons, but they could serve as medical ships and rescue vessels. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. For the first time in their history, the Kelthrins had someone willing to fight for them, and they would not abandon that alliance. The human fleet arrived at New Horizon 30 hours before the Vergoth. The planet hung in space like a blue and green jewel, home to farmers and scientists, artists and teachers. People who had left Earth to build something new among the stars. Now they watched as warships took up defensive positions around their world. Sarah addressed the fleet from the Titan's bridge. "All ships, this is Commander Mitchell. What we do in the next few hours will define humanity's place in this galaxy. We are outnumbered, but we are not outmatched. Every one of you has trained for this. Every ship in this fleet represents the best that humanity can build. The Vroggoth think they can terrorize us into submission. They think we will run or surrender. They are about to learn that humans do not abandon the innocent. They are about to learn that when you threaten human lives, you face the full wrath of Earth's fleet. All stations prepare for battle. Make every shot count. The Vroggoth fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel like a storm of locusts. 342 ships filled the space around New Horizon, their weapons already charging. Warlord Krenth broadcast his demands on all frequencies. Humans of New Horizon, this is Warlord Krenth. You interfered in Vroggoth business. You killed our warriors. Now you will pay the price. Surrender your world and your ships, or we will destroy everything. You have 1 hour dot. The response came not from New Horizon, but from Commander Mitchell. Warlord Krenth, this is Commander Sarah Mitchell. You attacked civilians under our protection. You have brought your fleet to threaten our colony. You have made yourself humanity's enemy. We do not surrender. We do not negotiate with pirates. We offer you one chance. Leave now, or face the consequences. Krenth's laughter echoed across every channel. You have 20 ships. We have more than 300. Your bravery is foolishness. We will sweep you aside like dust. Then come and try, Sarah said coldly. All ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity. The battle for New Horizon began with a fury that lit up the night sky. The human ships moved into a defensive formation around the planet, their weapon systems unleashing devastation. Railguns fired projectiles that tore through enemy hulls. Plasma cannons carved molten lines through shields and armor. Missiles streaked across space in waves, each one guided by eye that had been programmed with centuries of human combat experience. The Vroggoth had numbers, but they lacked coordination. Each warlord commanded his own ships, and none of them wanted to be the first into the meat grinder. They circled the human formation, looking for weakness, and found none. The human ships moved as one, their formation never breaking, their fire concentrated and devastating. Commander Rodriguez led her fighter squadron directly into the enemy fleet's heart. Her mission was simple: cause chaos, disrupt their coordination, and make them pay for every meter of space they crossed. Her pilots followed her with the fearless confidence that came from superior training and technology. Asterisk Alpha Squadron, she called out, weapons free. Make them regret coming here. The human fighters tore through the Vroggoth formation like predators among prey. Their missiles found targets. Their cannons never missed. Every pass through the enemy lines left burning ships in their wake. On the Titan's bridge, Sarah watched the tactical display with the cold calculation of a chess master. The Vroggoth were trying to surround her fleet, to use their numbers to overwhelm the human defenses. She would not allow it. All ships, execute maneuver Delta 7, she ordered. Target their command vessels. Kill the warlords. Asterisk. The human fleet shifted formation with practiced precision. The destroyers and frigates created a screen, while the dreadnoughts Titan and Indomitable concentrated their fire on the largest enemy vessels. Warlord Krenth's flagship took a direct hit from the Indomitable's main railgun. The kinetic strike broke the ship in half. Krenth died instantly, along with his entire command crew. Leaderless, his personal fleet began to break apart. The battle raged for 3 hours. The Vroggoth kept coming, wave after wave, but the human fleet held. Every attack was repelled. Every breach in the formation was immediately sealed. The defensive satellites around New Horizon added their fire to the barrage, and the planet's shields held against the few enemy shots that got through. Finally, the Vroggoth broke. With their primary warlord dead and casualties mounting, The remaining raiders began to flee. Some tried to surrender, but many simply ran, desperate to escape the humans who had proven to be far more lethal than they had ever imagined. When the last enemy ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, Sarah allowed herself to breathe. Damage report. Chun checked the displays. Titan shields at 40%. Moderate damage to the Guardian and Swift. Indomitable reporting hull breaches, but all critical systems functional. Casualties are light, considering. 18 dead, 47 wounded. And the enemy? 216 Vragoth ships destroyed. 43 captured. The rest fled. Sarah closed her eyes briefly. 216 ships. Thousands of enemy dead. It was a victory, but victories always came with a cost. What about New Horizon? No damage to the colony. The shields held. The civilians are safe. That was what mattered. The people they had sworn to protect were alive. Over the next days, word of the Battle of New Horizon spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A human fleet had faced down an armada more than 15 times its size and won. The Vragoth, feared pirates who had terrorized this region for generations, had been broken. And humanity had done it to protect civilians, both their own and an alien species they had just met. The galaxy's reaction was mixed. Some species saw humanity as potential allies, protectors who might offer safety to those who had lived in fear. Others saw them as dangerous newcomers who threatened the established order. The great powers of the Concordat watched with concern, wondering if humanity would challenge their dominance. But on New Horizon, in the cities and farms of a colony world that had nearly died, humans and Kelthrans worked together to care for the wounded and repair the damaged ships. Captain Theron stood with Commander Mitchell, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. "You have changed everything," Theron said quietly, his scales showing colors that the translator identified as hope and wonder. "For thousands of years, the law of strength has governed the galaxy. The powerful took what they wanted, and the weak could only endure. Now you have shown us something different. We showed them that strength comes in many forms," Sarah replied. "It is not just about weapons and ships. It is about being willing to stand up for what is right, even when the odds are against you. What will you do now? The Vragoth are broken, but there are other threats. Other pirates, other predators." Sarah smiled. "Then we will face them too. Humanity did not come to the stars to hide. We came to build something better. And if that means fighting to protect the innocent, then that is what we will do." High above them, the stars shone with promise and possibility. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy, and the message was clear. The age of the law of strength was ending. In its place, something new was being born. A galaxy where the strong protected the weak, where mercy was not weakness, and where humanity would stand as guardians for all who needed them. The most lethal fleet in the galaxy had answered an alien SOS, and in doing so, had changed the course of history among the stars.